Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. Our guest today is Stephanie Serone. Let's talk about that deep, insidious wound that we all are working through, feeling good enough. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm so excited to be here with you.
This is such a deep and important topic. You and I were talking just a little bit before I hit the record button about how common it is for people to feel that they're not good enough, they're not worthy, that there's something wrong with them, and all of the different ways that that manifests. And I know that's an area that you specialize in. So why don't you start by telling everybody a little bit about what you're doing, about your business, what you got going on?
Thank you. I work a lot with people that feel like they aren't worthy, good enough. They don't have what it takes to do what they want, be what they want. I work specifically with women in a unique way that is specifically designed for women to break down all of those patterns and then those ingrained thought processes, all our heightened emotions, all of our chronic beliefs, to really just get us to the point of feeling like we are that person, feeling like we are worthy, feeling like we believe in ourselves and can go and do the things that we want to actually do, so we can live as that person. Because although we can feel like we are not good enough inside, every single person actually is. It's just really getting to the point where we truly believe that in ourselves.
It's a challenging thing for a lot of people. And it goes back to childhood for most people. Well-meaning, in many cases, parents, siblings are doing the best that they know how to do, which oftentimes is not really very good, right? To direct children to sort of conform and to behave a certain way. And of course, stressed parents are more critical, more judgmental, and we start to take those things on as being true about us. The ridicule or the criticism or somebody's negative comment or just their bad mood, as though we're unlovable and there's something fundamentally wrong with us. And those feelings don't just go away on their own. So when you're working with your clients, what are you typically seeing? What are people coming to you and sort of at the forefront of their mind? They know that something's up. Sometimes they don't know how deep it is, but what are people coming to you and saying? Like, what's their hang up? What's their challenge? What are they bumping up against?
Yeah, a lot of the time, it is like you said, like they don't actually know exactly what it is, right? They're just like, I just don't feel like I can do things. I don't feel confident. I don't feel even just that happiness, right? It's like they know they should be happy or should feel grateful or should be able to reach out to people or have a conversation or go and take action in their businesses or go and put themselves out there, and reach out to create things, but they're just finding that they can't naturally do that. It's so hard for them to actually take those steps, and it feels like that sort of pushing a rock up a hill type feeling. It's like they know that there's no reason they can't actually take the action, but doing it seems so hard and so big and so impossible, and that sort of feeling, right?
When we are in the midst of those types of programs, it is interesting because we can, on one level of the mind, see that it is unreasonable or unnecessary, or we should be able to do that thing. And yet it's almost like there is some kind of subconscious invisible wall or block that just will not allow us to do the thing we need to do.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that we've got to clean up. And it's not always easy to do that on our own, because sometimes we don't even realize the story that we're still telling ourselves. What are some of the things that you have found maybe yourself, your clients are doing to themselves mentally and emotionally that are creating those blocks?
Oh, when you start delving in, it's incredible what our minds are telling us. It can be the most negative place. We can be our own worst enemies, and a lot of the time that's what I'm seeing. These women will come in and they're doing a great job, like they are with having a negative mind and beating themselves up constantly. They're actually doing amazing with like with that happening at the same time. So a lady that I worked with recently, she has a counseling practice. She's quite successful. She helps a lot of people, but wasn't she really didn't feel good enough in her role. She was pushing so hard to meet all these expectations and exceed everything. And that's what she tied her worth to, like what she was doing and wanting to prove herself. And she was overweight. She had basically gone from being an addict like many years ago to getting through that herself, but and becoming an addiction counselor, but then having an issue with her weight and feeling like she couldn't escape that. And it sort of like it went from one thing to another. Yet when we delved into what she was actually believing, it's things like, I deserve to be punished. So when we've got that going in the background, we're going to be doing the things that punish us. We're not going to be able to treat ourselves like a person that we love. We're going to be doing things that don't support that. It's when we've got a program running that does not support us, that's going to be what we're seeing. And although she was trying to do all the things that you're supposed to do when you want to look after yourself, actually doing that was so hard. So then she was caught in these binge cycles and all of that sort of thing, just because she innately believed that she deserved to be punished. So when we resolve that, you resolve all of it together, where she can actually treat herself properly and like she loves herself and give herself nutrients and exercise and see her when she looks at the mirror, see herself as the beautiful, amazing human that she is.
It is a little bit scary how a belief like that can be so powerful that it overrides all of that almost intuitive spiritual knowing that we deserve love and that we should love ourselves and we should take care of ourselves and we're worthy of goodness. People do this in all sorts of ways, with weight, with finances, in relationships. And we do have to really get honest with ourselves about what those stories are so that we can properly heal them, release them, let it go, and embody a healthier belief about ourselves that actually supports us in our life and in our business, instead of it being the very thing that's constantly working against us and undermining all of the positive intentions that we have.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that.
Let's talk a little bit more on this subject in maybe a slightly different way. So some people are aware that they have self-limiting beliefs. They're acutely or chronically aware of it because they hear themselves saying it all the time, over and over and over and over again. So it's not even a mystery to them, but they still can't seem to shake it.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that phenomenon that also frequently occurs for people. And perhaps you can offer some guidance or some words of wisdom for those who are going through that, where they know they've got this old story. They know it's not serving them. They know they need to let it go. And for some reason, they just cannot seem to shake it.
Yeah, it's really about doing the right thing, like finding the thing that works. We can't analyze self. So if you're out there trying to do it by yourself, you're doing a great job, but it's not, we can't analyze ourselves. We can catch some thoughts, we can hear our words if we are really aware, but we're only going to be aware of what our logical mind shows us. We've got so many thoughts and things that aren't caught. We have 12 to 50,000 thoughts a day. So if we were going to try and catch all of those, we would exhaust ourselves. They're all running in the background, supporting us just on autopilot to keep ourselves going with what we've learned so far in our lives, who we have become so far in our lives. And so if we're doing it by ourselves, we're not going to get to the point where we can release everything that we need to, because we can't see it. It's like that hidden storage area way in the back. Having someone that's trained to identify what those are is super important. And then also knowing what to do once you know what they are to actually resolve them completely. So for women, we can find that with a lot of things out there, they're not designed, there's nothing wrong with the tool, but they're not designed to work long term for women. So we can feel good for a while, even sometimes 6 months, a year. But within sort of 18 months, things tend to come back because we're not breaking the pattern off completely. And we're working on the same thing. So that's my area of expertise, is actually resolving these things for good, irreversible change. So like you said about finding the issue that's not serving us and replacing it with something that supports us, that process is done completely at the epigenetic level. So those patterns that although they can be triggered and sometimes can come from our childhood and the things that we've gone through, a lot of the time they're not even ours. So trying to be aware of an issue that actually didn't start with us, that's been passed down in our genes and is playing out again in us, can be really hard, to be aware of an issue that's not really ours, and has stemmed from somewhere else. We can't be like, there's a big responsibility to try and sort all that out all at once.
Let's talk a little bit more about the epigenetic side of things. I know that there are going to be some people listening who are like, what the hell did they just say? I don't even know what that means. So let's start there, because it's not something that everyone understands about our human makeup and how we're programmed and conditioned and why we are the way that we are. Most people have this sort of old school scientific understanding of how genes work. Oh, if I've got cancer genes in the family, then I've got this chance of potentially also having cancer. But epigenetics is a little bit different than just that old gene theory. So I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to let you explain, the role of epigenetics. And this could be a really enlightening thing for some people who are like, why in the hell? I just, for the life of me, cannot figure out why I am doing this particular thing.
Yes. So if we look at it as simply as we can, we've got our genes, right? You're talking about, and we can see how our genes are sort of passed down. If you sort of look in a family, you can see, say that you've got Nana's knobby knees or something like that. You can see physically the DNA and you can see these things being passed down. But epigenetically, basically, we've got the traits and emotional scarring and triggers and things and coping mechanisms that are also so lovingly handed down to us as well. And so everyone that shares our DNA has had their own life experience. They've gone through things. They've gone through happy times. They've also gone through stressful times. And especially in history, there's been a lot of suppression. There's been a lot of violence. There's been a lot of fear. And so those things that our family members have been through all raveled up inside of us. We've got coping mechanisms and danger signals, just like in the animal world. They learn, they're not speaking it, but they know when something feels dangerous or not right. They know when they need to get out of a situation. We're passed down all these things, but they actually are not serving us in our current life. So if you think about what some family members may have been through in the past, we had witch hunts, we've had wars, we've had famines, we've had so many different things that can make us feel like it's not okay for us to be ourselves. Say witches, they were just normal women doing normal womanly things, gathering things, tending to their families, creating and healing and all of that sort of thing. However, they were burned alive at the stake. So any people that were witnessing that, you start to feel like it is unsafe for me to stand out. It is unsafe for me to not fit in. And that can play out in today's world as I can't public speak. I'll stand up and no voice will come out, or I get anxious going out in society. And it can look like something completely different, but it makes sense when we look at what our ancestors and things have actually been through, the full on things. And I like to look at it as like a genetic cup. So if you think of a cup that's full of dirty, murky, yucky water, when you're born, you're handed this cup. And it's like, oh, good luck, because it's what everybody else has been through. And it's like, well, there's only a tiny little bit of space on the top for me to put in good things and to feel good and to really work with. But no matter what we put on top, we've got all of that epigenetic patterns and all of those things that really don't support us living here now as the human being that we are and the experience we're having. So tipping that epigenetic cup out, tipping that crap out and starting fresh so we can build what we want in our lives. And our experience is relevant. We're not being triggered and we don't know why. We're not feeling super anxious or super angry over and over again on things that aren't really relative. And we can actually get back to proper emotional intelligence, understanding our emotions and having healthy emotions as opposed to heightened ones because of something else that's trying to keep us safe, trying to go, oh, this is a really bad situation for you. Let's just trigger everything so that you don't do this again. And we start to basically shut ourselves down because the more things trigger us. So we retreat, and we look around and we're like, wow, I don't really feel like I'm living at all. I don't like going out. I don't like doing things. I don't put myself out there. I don't apply for jobs that I want. I don't create memories that I want. I'm not doing anything because all these things are all scary in their own way.
This is probably a perfect segue for me to inquire what type of mindset challenges you've personally had to identify and overcome as a business owner. And obviously there's probably quite a few. So perhaps we can just choose one. But I have a feeling it's probably going to relate, right? Be very relatable for some of the people listening.
Yeah. So for me, it was that feeling really of not being good enough, like not accepting, not feeling accepted, not accepting myself, feeling like I didn't fit in. And I think that for me, I had a huge fear of being alone. And so not fitting in, not feeling good enough, all of those sorts of things show up because if I can't have people like me, then I'm going to be alone. Like at the end of the day, I'm not going to have anyone that's around. And I had such a big fear of that. And like in my childhood, you know, there was abandonment, broken home, a lot of that sort of thing. And I think that sort of really amplified that feeling of I've got to have people around me to feel safe and secure, and and accept, to feel accepted was to be safe almost. And because I didn't feel that I was good enough, I just became this chameleon where I would do and say and be everything I thought someone wanted me to be, just so I could fit in. And in business and things, that is not supportive of really having your own, not even just brand, but people seeing who you are. You can't be unique in the way you help people or have them connect with you as a person if you don't even know who the hell you are. Like if you're just pretending to be someone.
Yeah. Like I said, I knew it was going to be something that people could relate to. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that feeling of needing other people's approval when it really is largely an overcompensation for that deep rooted feeling of insecurity that we need to work through and heal.
It absolutely is. I was talking to a friend last night, as I have a client going through at the moment, and she was saying about how she's she doesn't really feel like she's ever understood or accepted. And I was talking to my friend about it, and I said every single client that comes through that feels like that, it's not that they need acceptance from others, it's that they don't accept themselves. It's not that they need validation from others, it's they don't validate themselves. They don't accept or love who they are. So they're feeling a deep need to have that really reflected back at them. Yes, you are worthy. Yes, you are understood. You know, and although that's great, like obviously we don't want to just feel like we, you know, no one ever will get us, and no one ever will understand us. But it's got to come from us, because when we are in that space where we really believe in ourselves, love ourselves, accept ourselves, and know who we are, it's not coming from a lack. We're not out there trying to prove it and seek it from the wrong people, the people that see us when we are embodying that person and really feeling like we are finally living as that person. They're the actual people that will get it, because they can actually see it. We're trying to show someone something that we don't innately feel.
The inner work is the most valuable work that we can do, because it really is the foundation for everything that we create in our lives and in our businesses. So, Stephanie, how can our listeners connect with you?
Probably the easiest way is on Instagram. It's _ the true you _ I've got a link there to a lot more resources. There's a free masterclass that really explains, it shares my story before and after. You can actually see a video of where I was and in my life before I found the female only way to do all the healing that I really needed to do. Understanding the female difference and being able to identify some of the issues that are playing out for you. And yeah, you can see a lot of my before and afters of other women and things like that as well. A little bit more of understanding of what I actually do day to day. That's probably the easiest way if you wanted to actually reach out and have a look and see what's going on there.
Awesome. I want to thank you so much, Stephanie, for being with us today. It's been a valuable conversation on a topic that I know really hits home for a lot of people.
Thank you so much for having me. And I just want to remind anyone that is listening, your little reminder today that you are good enough. You are good enough in your life. You are good enough in your job. You are good enough in your relationships. You are more than good enough. And not seeing our worth, not feeling that we aren't worthy, doesn't mean that you aren't.
I love that. What a perfect way to end this segment. I want to also thank all of our listeners. You know, we're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. And until next time, we will see you in the next episode.